Let's begin by sinking into the deep, ancient quiet. We are not in the grand city of Rome yet, but at its origin point, the muddy, winding banks of the Tiber River. Picture a time, centuries before any emperor, before the Republic, before even the legendary Romulus and Remus, when this place was just a series of 7 low hills and a wide, slow-moving stretch of water. Close your eyes and simply listen to the river's soft, repetitive lapping. It's not the churning sound of a modern waterway, but a gentle, almost lazy noise as the current brushes against the tall reeds and marsh grass. The air is heavy with the scent of wet earth, cool moisture, and the subtle, organic aroma of river silt. Feel the stillness. There is an immense, heavy quiet here, broken only by the sounds of the natural world, the occasional splash of a fish, the buzz of an unseen insect, or the cry of a distant marsh bird. Imagine standing in a tiny, scattered village, just a few primitive huts roofed with straw and mud. The only human sound is the muffled crackle of a small, contained fire, the core of a family, the first spark of a civilization. The future power of the empire, its marble, its legions, its laws, it's all just potential, sleeping soundly in the dark, heavy soil beneath your feet. This is the sound of Rome yet to be great, far from the future's chaos. It's a deep, foundational peace. Let the slow, patient flow of the Tiber pull your focus away from your own thoughts, carrying them downstream until all that remains is the simple, rhythmic, ancient murmur of the water. This sound is eternal, and it's an anchor for your rest tonight. Now let time gently accelerate. We leap forward into the Golden Era, the age of Augustus. But we are seeking out the quiet spaces, not the bustling crowds. Imagine walking through the newly rebuilt city during the late, fading light of the afternoon. The sun is low, casting long, soft shadows, and everything is washed in a warm, sleepy glow. Focus your attention on the marble. Augustus famously boasted that he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble, and you can feel the difference. Run your hand in your mind's eye across the surface of a grand temple column or a public statue. It is profoundly cool, smooth, and heavy. Feel the dense, crystalline structure of the stone, mined and shaped with such deliberate effort. The light plays beautifully here. It catches the subtle, internal grain of the white marble, making the entire building seem to softly glow from within. This is not just architecture, it is an act of silent permanence. These massive structures were built not for a generation, but for eternity. Their silence speaks volumes. They stand unmoving, unhurried, and serenely still, a complete contrast to the fleeting lives of the mortals who pass beneath them. This meditation is about stability. Look at the slow erosion of time on the stone, not destruction, but a softening of the sharp edges. Feel the serene, unchanging presence of the marble as it gently cools with the coming evening, holding all the history of the world in its quiet surface. Let's follow the water now, the true lifeblood of the city. We aren't concerned with the magnificent arches of the aqueducts that span the valleys. Those are for public display. Instead, we're looking inside the stone, into the specus, the hidden, narrow channel where the water actually flows. Imagine you are walking parallel to the channel, listening to the internal sound of the water's journey. It begins high up in the distant wooded hills, captured at a clear, cold spring. Its journey is one of unrelenting, slow constancy. The water moves, not rushing, but with a steady, almost meditative pace, governed only by the slightest angle of descent. Listen closely for the faint, muffled trickle and drip. This sound is magnified by the stillness of the countryside. You can hear the water clinging to the rough, lime-coated walls of the channel, gently running over the unseen grain of the stone. This entire massive system, a wonder of the world, functions with this absolute quiet efficiency. The aqueduct is Rome's greatest, most patient poem. It is the story of water traveling 50 miles or more through dark tunnels and across valleys to fill a fountain or a bathhouse in the city. Let the hypnotic sound of the soft, continuous flow fill your mind. It is a slow, cool current of life, the sound of reliability itself, carrying you gently towards sleep. Step inside a wealthy, quiet home, a patrician domus, during the sacred hours of the afternoon rest, the meridies. The senator himself is not working. He is embracing the art of otium, leisure and contemplation. The house is built around a cool, shaded peristyle, a courtyard with a small pool of water at its center. The air is still and cool, a delicious break from the heat of the day. The senator is reclined on a low couch, his posture one of complete relaxation. He is wearing a simple, light tunic. The heavy work of the Republic or the Empire is, for now, a world away. His task is a simple one, reading a scroll. It's not a dramatic piece of rhetoric, but perhaps an old, dusty account of land holdings in Sicily, or a philosophical treatise on Stoic virtue. The only sound he makes is the slow, dry rustle of the papyrus as he unrolls a new section and the old one curls back into place. In the farthest distance, behind the thick walls that muffle the sound, you can just detect the faint, rhythmic sounds of the household staff. A tap, tap, tap from the kitchen, the soft, sweeping sound of a broom on the stone floor, or a murmured conversation, too indistinct to understand. These are the distant sounds of slaves, the unseen engine that makes this quiet leisure possible. Breathe with the senator. This is the slow, unhurried rhythm of Roman power, the quiet before the evening's meal, the deep, still moment of contemplation that is the true luxury of the ruling class. We leave the city's heart and move out onto the great spine of the empire, the Roman roads. Specifically, we are walking the Appian Way, Via Appia, but we're doing it in the deep, peaceful stillness of late twilight. Forget the armies and the rush of chariots. This moment is about the road itself, a phenomenal piece of engineering reduced to a silent, sun-baked ribbon across the rolling landscape. The massive, dark basalt stones, fitted together so tightly, absorb the heat of the day and slowly, silently radiate it back into the cool evening air. Listen to the sound of your own quiet movement, the rhythmic crunch of your sandals on the fine dust that has gathered between the paving stones is the only thing that breaks the solitude. Overhead, the stars are beginning to show, and the sky is a deep, velvety blue. Look down at the stones. Notice the slight grooves and depressions worn into the surface, not from the sudden impact of a cart, but from the endless, gentle repetition of years. This road is an enduring presence. It simply lies there, patiently connecting two distant points, carrying the light weight of history and the vastness of the empty countryside. The road is a straight, unwavering line into the darkness, a promise of constancy and passage.
The men are focused on the small things, the details that keep them alive. It's a life of absolute patience and waiting. Let the repetitive, soothing sounds of their diligence, the tap, tap, tap of a hammer on a tent peg, become a rhythm that gently lulls your mind into a relaxed state. Return with me to the heart of Rome, but this time in the absolute deep stillness of 2 a.m. The Roman Forum, the center of the universe, is utterly empty. Where once a million voices roared and thundered with debate, commerce, and judgment, there is now only a vast, cold expanse of wet stone. Imagine walking slowly across the paving, past the silent, monolithic columns. The air is still, carrying only the faint metallic scent of damp stone and old bronze. Your footsteps are the loudest sound in the city, echoing faintly off the marble walls of the Basilica Julia and the temples of the Vestal Virgins. Listen for the wind. It doesn't howl, it simply sighs, a long, cool breath that sweeps between the empty pillars, carrying the dust of the day away. The structures here are ghosts of their former energy. They stand guard over the silence, waiting for the return of the sun and the chaos of the next day. But for now, they are entirely at peace. This is a moment of profound solitude and historical calm, a vast empty bowl where history once boiled, now perfectly still. Absorb that comforting emptiness. We travel down the Tiber to the bustling port of Ostia, but we arrive in the darkness before dawn. The docks are not yet alive with the shouting of sailors. Find a quiet spot near a small, rough-hewn wooden warehouse. Inside, a single, flickering candle casts a pool of yellow light. A tired overseer is bent over a desk, slowly reviewing a cargo manifest, a list of goods: 100 amphorae of olive oil, 50 sacks of Egyptian wheat, 10 crates of Spanish wine. The writing is meticulous, the process slow. Step outside onto the pier. The most dominant sound is the calm, rhythmic lapping of the water against the dark, heavy wooden pilings and the hulls of the tied ships. It is a deep, wet, hypnotic sound, a constant pulse that suggests the sea is merely breathing. There is no rush to sail or unload. The great global network of Roman trade is at this hour held entirely within the flicker of a candle and the patient movement of the tide. This is the sound of quiet, essential commerce, the foundational rhythm of the economy, reduced to a peaceful pre-dawn watch. Let the steady, gentle lapping of the water rock your mind. Let's return to the Roman home, but not to the grandeur of the senator. This time, we look at the spiritual core, the quiet corner where the Laurarium, the family shrine, is kept. These are the Laures and Penates, the household gods. They are not the great roaring deities of Olympus, but the small personal spirits of the pantry, the hearth, and the home's boundaries. They are often represented by simple, unpainted clay figurines, almost childlike in their simplicity. Observe the quiet ritual of the family. The youngest daughter or the head of the house approaches the shrine. The offering is always small, a single pinch of salt, a piece of honeyed cake, or a drop of unmixed wine poured into a tiny bowl. The act is performed without fanfare, a simple, gentle nod to the spirits who keep the family safe. Listen for the whispers, not actual sound, but the profound sense of silent communication between the living and the protectors of their domestic peace. Their duty is not to win wars, but to ensure the simple comfort of warm food, a solid roof, and unbroken family life. This is the most intimate quiet of Rome, a silence of deep personal devotion. We venture into the countryside again, to a forgotten villa that has been slowly abandoned to time. We don't see the walls, we see the floor. Lying beneath a slight layer of dust, the mosaic is revealed. This is where we study the process of beautiful, slow decay. The original image, perhaps a marine scene, a basket of fruit, or a mythological hero, is still visible, but its pattern is broken and fractured. Look closely at the individual pieces of stone and glass, the tesserae. They were once sharp and vibrant. Now the colors, the deep ocean blue, the burnt sienna, the soft green, are faded and muted, softened by the millennia. A few stones are missing, displaced by the slow, unseen push of the earth beneath. The decay here is not tragic, but meditative. It is the soundless work of time, water freezing and cracking the cement, plant roots slowly pushing apart the ancient pattern. Contemplating this mosaic's broken perfection is a quiet acceptance of impermanence. The beauty remains, but its form has dissolved back into the simple, natural materials from which it came. Enter the great imperial library. This place is a sanctuary of silence, a world entirely contained within its walls.
The air here is cool, dry, and motionless, scented with the distinct light aroma of old wood and ancient papyrus. We walk slowly down the long corridors, past the wooden armaria, the shelved cabinets, that hold thousands upon thousands of unread scrolls. Each scroll is a silent, stored history, holding the voice of a philosopher, a lost play, or a record of a battle. But now, all those voices are utterly still, bound tight within the papyrus and leather. Imagine the weight of all that knowledge resting quietly on the shelves. Look closely at the surfaces. A fine, soft layer of dust covers everything. This dust is not neglect. It is the powdered residue of memory and time. The only sound is the almost imperceptible whisper of the air, disturbed by your presence. The library is a place of profound, reverent quiet. A space where all the intellectual energy of the empire is simply resting, waiting patiently for a hand to unroll its secrets.
The world has changed into a monochrome landscape. We stand at the northern frontier, perhaps high up in Britain along a great wall. Deep winter snow has fallen, and the sky is heavy and gray. The snow has acted as a blanket, muffling every sound. The stone wall itself is capped with thick, heavy white, its sharp edges smoothed and softened. Look out over the landscape. It is entirely white and empty, a scene of absolute profound silence. There are no sounds of fighting, no shouts, no distant marching. The quiet here is so intense, it feels like a physical pressure, a vast, isolating calm. The world is reduced to the slow, visible drift of snowflakes and the soft, crisp sound of your own breath in the cold air. This is the quiet of the absolute limit, where the human world ends and the vast, peaceful emptiness of nature begins. The silence of the frontier is a complete reset, a moment where all the urgency of Rome vanishes. Just breathe deeply in that cold, clean, and utterly still air. We move to a quiet agricultural settlement in the provinces, perhaps a farming community in Gaul or Hispania. This is not Rome. It is a place where Roman life has simply settled and softened. The buildings are constructed with local stone and timber, and the forum is smaller, more intimate. There is a sense of unhurried, easy-going life. The sound is a gentle mix, the distant cluck of chickens, the creaking of a wooden cart on a dirt track, and the slow, lowing sound of oxen working a field. The Roman life here is not a loud display of power, but a process of slow, cultural blending. A soldier might speak Latin, but his wife speaks a local Celtic dialect. The local shrines still stand, simply adopting Roman names for their native gods. The civilization has drifted into the soil, becoming an organic, integrated part of the landscape. This is the peace of routine and agriculture, a quiet, steady life that turns with the seasons. It's an easy, unhurried rhythm, the sound of the vast majority of the empire simply living quietly, far from the turmoil of the emperors. Let the calm pace of provincial life carry your mind into a restful state. Our journey concludes by pulling back, moving high above the city of Rome, viewing it now as a vast, timeless structure of memory. It is no longer a real place, but a dream, viewed through a soft, ethereal haze. The sun is entirely gone. The city glows with a dim, gentle, diffused light, like a faint ember. All the noise, the glory, the ambition, and the collapse that we've touched upon, it all recedes into an abstract pattern. Look at the empty shapes, the curved outline of the Colosseum, the vast square of the forums, the straight line of the roads. They are no longer monuments to power, but simply beautiful frameworks of human effort, now empty and still. There is no sound of a fall, no crash, no violence. There is only the absolute quiet of completion. The story of this great structure of dreams has reached its end, and it is now gently receding into the peaceful, silent archives of the past. Let that soft, hazy image of the sleeping city be the final anchor for your mind. Everything is quiet, everything is still. Sleep now, dreamer.